Happy Dr. King Day. Oh, indeed. It is great to be back here at BAM, and Gina Duncan, thank you for your leadership of this extraordinary institution that sends the most incredible talent off to stages and places all over the world. We're so proud of what you do here. And someone you're going to be hearing from shortly is really a part of American history. We have Carlota Lanier here. Do you know who she was? Is still? 14-year-old child who had the courage, and her parents had the courage to stand up to such adversity and hatred. And she succeeded in still being able to walk into those doors, to go to school, and to be able to be the first woman of color to ever graduate with a diploma and move on, paving the door for millions of other children after that. I want to give her a round of applause right now. You are part of our story. You may not know this about me, but I'm older than you think. I was a child in 1968, but old enough to know the story of Dr. King because I'd actually gone to the library as a child. Now, I grew up in a big family. We didn't have much at all. We didn't have, nice clothes. We didn't have the best meals. My mom would open up a can of Spam and fry it and put it between stale bread and call it dinner. She did her best, right? Our clothes came from used clothing stores or bought on layaway because you couldn't afford to do it. So I grew up in this world where by some standards we didn't have a lot, but we didn't know it. I was raised by social justice Catholic parents who used to live in a trailer park together. That's where my brother was born, near the steel plant where Dad worked. But in that environment, which was one of struggle, my parents taught us the teachings of Christ and how we must live his word. And folded into that story was Dr. King's message. And I read his story and did a book report on him when he was still alive. And the night he was assassinated, all of us gathered, we held hands at the dinner table and prayed and cried because he meant so much to my family, even up in the tough part of Buffalo, growing up there. The influence he had then during his life, but even all these decades later, is profound. There's no way he could have known that we'd still be gathering on a day like today, a little bit chilly. All of us gathering in fellowship to say, where do we take the march from here? Because his greatest fear is that it would die out, that the flame would be extinguished. My friends, you have not let that happen, and I will not let that happen either. Because Dr. King said this, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? It's simple. But I say the time for asking the questions is over. It's time to do something for others. And that is what has brought me to this place today. Never expected I'd be governor, I'll tell you right now. It wasn't in my future. But I am here for a reason. And that is to carry on the teachings of Dr. King in my policies today. And that is why just a few days ago, as I unveiled our State of the State address, I declared that my fight is for your family. And I have to do whatever we can to help people who are struggling because life is so hard. It reminds me of my childhood. And that's why we said we will put more money back in people's pockets. And there are those who say, well, that's just a slogan. Really? I'm actually going to do it. We have a plan. If you have little children, $1,000 in a child tax credit. You've paid too much in inflation. We're going to put $500 back in your pocket. We're going to cover the cost of school breakfasts and lunches so no little child ever has to feel the stigma of being the one who has to go in a different line for their meal. We will not do that to our children. They deserve more dignity than that. And we're going to have a tax cut for people who are working so hard who just wonder how they're going to get ahead. My friends, that's how we use government as an instrument of good, using policies that can lift people up. And also, for adults who want to better themselves and go into one of our high-need careers, we will cover the full cost of a community college education for you so you can have a better chance at success. That is my commitment to you as well. And maternal health. I know about this because I'm the first mom to ever be governor of New York. I know how important those prenatal visits are. And when people have to say, if I leave my minimum wage job and I don't get paid for a couple of hours to go to a doctor appointment to make sure my baby's health and my health is good, but I can't bring home enough food for the other children, I'm staying at work. I've heard that from too many women who say they've made that terrible choice. I say that ends right now. We are going to say you will be paid for the time that you need to go to these important appointments because your health is so important to me. We're going to do whatever we can to reduce those unconscionably high statistics that make us ashamed to know that in the greatest country in the world, the greatest state and the greatest country in the world, that we still have moms and babies dying because they did not get the care they deserved. And it happens in black and brown communities more than not. I also made sure that when people have got in trouble with the law, but have paid their debt to society, that they have a second chance. That is something I believe Dr. King would have understood as well. The clean slate legislation says we'll wipe that record clean so you don't have any barriers to be able to enter fully back into society and get a job to take care of yourselves, take care of your families. We've got to make housing more affordable so you don't have to worry about paying the rent. And childcare. Who's paying for childcare out there? God bless you. God bless you. Your grandkids as well. Any grandkids? I'm a grandma too. I'm not supposed to say this, but there's another one on the way, but don't tell anybody. Oh, sorry. I say this because it costs $21,000 a year to take care of a child. If you're making minimum wage, it doesn't add up. It costs 155% higher to raise a child and cover childcare than it does to go to college. And what is happening here? How are the moms going to get to work and bring home food? The struggles are immense, but we have the solutions. And I'm committed to continue living the words of Dr. King, who calls on us to look out for others. These are our brothers and sisters. That's in my DNA since I was a little child, and I'll continue as the governor of the greatest state in the nation with such pride to say, yes, Dr. King, I will answer the call to serve just like you did. And I'll be there for New York's families because that is how I say I will make a difference. Thank you, everyone, and happy Dr. King Day.